non-sane. This is the book that I am reading. This is the book. We've already read the first 30 minutes of it. I will be reading this book in its entirety today and tomorrow. Today and tomorrow. I will be reading. God bless you, John Doe. I see you. Miman 5000. I see you. I see you. Mr. Peppermint. Seem like you've been here before, Mr. Peppermint, or somebody else has that name. Lukey Dark Fire. Lukey Dark Fire. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You just might. Yeah, you just might. You just might. Ain't no telling what you might do. Ain't no telling what you might do, but I know what I'm going to do. It is 3 o'clock. I'm going to jump right into the read because I'm reading. I'm a reading sister today. I am a reading sister today. Let me see. I got to find out my That's not it, Ro. Maybe that's not it. You got to go to YouTube. Yeah, I'm live now. I'm ready to start reading right now. Okay, the husband's trying to locate me. Hold on, I'm trying to find out how far I'm reading. Gallery, my flyer, handy dandy flyer. Will tell me what I'm supposed to do. Okay, the second segment last segment we read black animalization. Oh my God. I'm like, what's the black animalization? But that's what we did. We read black animalization. So now we are reading chapter 3 and chapter 4. Chapter 3, understanding the division. Understanding the vision. And chapter 4, the psycho-alteration of the biochemical. Okay? As far as that's supposed to go, huh? Okay, I'm supposed to stop there, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm looking at the clock. It's 3:02. Let me get this. Because I'm filming. I came online and they said people are having trouble with their T-Mobile accounts across T-Mobile, Verizon. We've had something's going on with the gadgets here, there, and yon. Not sure. Because I've been reading and then laying down. It's reading. Reading take a whole lot out of you. But I can do it. I've done it before. God has equipped me. Because I have done this before. Okay, here we go. All right. So this is a book that we are continuing to read, Breaking the Curse of Willie Lynch. Breaking the Curse of Willie Lynch. It is a 2-day read. And today I will read half of it. And on tomorrow I will complete the book. Information, very powerful. So let's get into it. Chapter 3, Understanding Division. Understanding Division. In my bag here, okay, now this is really italicized. So this is from the Willie Lynch letter. From the Willie Lynch letter. And then we read the letter, and then the psychologist that wrote the book breaks it down and explains it. Understanding division. So in my bag here, I have a foolproof method for controlling your black slaves. I guarantee every one of you that if it's installed correctly, it will control the slaves for at least 300 years. We're into that 300th year now, you guys. My method is simple. Any member of your family or your overseers can use it. I've outlined a number of differences among the slaves, and I take these differences and I make them bigger. I use fear, I use distrust, and I use envy for control purposes. Those methods have worked on my mama's plantation in the West Indies, and it will work throughout the South. Take this simple little list of differences and think about them. On top of my list is age, but it is there only because it starts with an A. The second is color or shade. There is intelligence, size, sex, size of plantations, status on plantation, attitude of owners, whether the slaves lived in the valley or on the hill, east, west, north, or south, have fine hair, coarse hair, or is tall and or short. Now that you have a list of the differences, I shall give you an outline of action. But before that, I shall assure you that distrust is stronger than trust. And envy is stronger than adulation, respect, or admiration. So the black slave, after receiving this indoctrination, shall carry on and will become self-refueling and self-generating for hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years. God bless you, Negra Kankulu. God bless you, God bless you, God bless you. God bless you. God bless you, beloved daughter. God bless you. Don't forget, you must pitch the old black male versus the young black male, and the young black male against the old black male. You must use the dark-skinned slaves versus the light-skinned slaves, and the light-skinned slaves versus the dark-skinned slaves. You must use the female versus the male, and the male versus the female. We must always have your white servants and overseers distrust all blacks. But it is necessary that your slaves trust and depend on us. They must love, respect, and trust only us, only the white people. Okay, back into the reading. Now, although this instructional speech was delivered by Willie Lynch on the banks of the James River in the year 1712, these same tactics are still being applied in the workplace and in the black family in the year 2003. This book was written 17 years ago. In the year 2003 and beyond. So before going any further at this point, we must come to the agreement that at the foundation of the slave maker's thinking was and still is the belief that the Negro male and female must remain divided and ignorant in order that his system may function according to his plans, uninterrupted in an orderly fashion. So while we are all involved in the process of breaking the curse of Willie Lynch, we must be sure not to add fuel to the fire that has broken down an entire nation of people. This fuel consists of the constant outside instigation and magnification of our differences. In the process of dividing the black male and the female, the objective of control became easier due to the fact that the slave makers only have a half of a people to manage. Now, this is the reason for the manipulation of differences. Because once you split a person's commonly shared idea, you can divide the individuals even further by injecting a foreign concept as a solution once they have been split apart, separated. They did thus. They took the black men from the black women. So separate them, and then you can conquer, and then we divide. So a common example in the lives of black people takes place in domestic disputes, meditated by so-called white authorities, peacekeepers, or social workers. We invite them into our homes to solve the very problems that their foreparents created. These are the descendants of Willie Lynch's people that created and instigated the artificial problems that we constantly wrestle with one another over. Often in the Black community, money problems take the center stage in the drama. More so when there's a surplus, when there's plenty, than when there's a shortage. When there's a shortage, the stress is on what type of material benefits can we acquire with a certain level of income. On the other hand, when there's a surplus, the argument between the man and the woman is over the management of the finances. Then comes the systemic mediators instigating the drama played out in the domestic courts. And there you have it. Another Black family becoming more consumed by Willie Lynch's curse. Legal division mainly falls under the category of courts, marriages, and divorces that are certified by mainstream white authority. This act alone gives another man the control to decide the fate of Black unity. And in so doing, we as Black men and women reinforce the belief in the minds of the so-called white authorities that we aren't man and woman enough to decide, to plan, and solve our problems aside from his input, which is only mere deceit. Even before the documentation of these divisive methods so widely accredited to Willie Lynch, the method of divide and conquer has been an age-old policy systematized by white nations when dealing with nations of color. Most of the situations that fall under this category are usually decided over by an authority appointed mediator who tricks the Black man and woman by not talking to both of them at the same time. They aid in the separating of the Black man and the Black woman, first of all by providing an instant, easy solution to their problems. Of course, their answer to their problems with Black men and women is to encourage us to dissolve our union, get a divorce. Just quit. Don't even try uniting, because this is not what we planned for you niggers to do anyway, in the first place. So this is the mind of the modern maintainers of the plantation. Today, the plantation represents the artificial conflict of interest between Black men and Black men and Black women, between Black men and their women. So what needs to be done in the relationships of Black men and women is that we need to develop and define a cultural agenda. An agenda systematically structured to overrun any of our personal desires that serve and benefit the opposition, thereby dissolving those goals that breed envy, instigate division, and the spiritual lynching of Black families. We have, through 4 decades of conditioning, been made to believe and practice a foreign people's dictated lifestyle. This Eurocentric practice of individual independence of man and woman makes it look like Blacks are directly the sole cause of the destruction of their own family structure. Chapter 4. The psycho-alteration of the biochemical. Following are a few paragraphs from the document written by Willie Lynch and furthermore introduced and practiced by millions of white slave masters all over the country. This part is a reference point to the antidote that Lynch and his following feared concerning the future of American slave economics. Okay, here we go. Our experts warned us about the possibility of this phenomenon occurring. For they said the mind has a strong drive to correct and recorrect itself. over a period of time. So if it can touch substantial original historical base, and they advise us that the best way to deal with the phenomena is to shave off the brutes. You notice they call us brutes. Shave off the brute's mental history and create a multiplicity of phenomena of illusion, that each illusion will twirl in its own orbit. Something similar to floating balls in a vacuum. The creation of a multiplicity of phenomena of illusions entails the principles of crossbreeding, the nigger and the horse, as we stated above. Treat the nigger just like the horse. The purpose of which is to create a diversified division of labor, thereby creating different levels of labor and different values of illusions at each connecting level of labor. The result of which is the severance of the points of original beginnings for each spree of illusion. So before going any further into the traumatic after effects of Willie Lynch and his equals, let us understand that every thought the human mind has immediately produces a chemical equal in response to that particular thought. So based on the intensity level of the event or given set of circumstances, the individual or group of people under such conditions will produce a common chemical bond synonymous with those events. So in the case of the black man and woman, under the program of such skillful slave makers, the black slaves were intentionally frozen in a fixed state of terror, ignorance, and self-hatred toward their self and kind. The three previous chapters describe the base condition, which are the remaining results brought about by the biochemical altering of black consciousness during the traumatic process of breaking the black slave. Never before on the record of time or on the record of any nation's history has there been such a scientifically crafted and executed method of mind control. What makes this type of mind control so long-lasting and unique? The success of Mr. Lynch's doctrine is not merely based on the instigation, exaggeration, and magnification of economic, physical characteristics, and sexual gender differences, but also the effects brought about based on the biochemical or hormonal effects produced and recorded in the physical anatomy of the black man and the woman through 4 centuries of intentional shocking of the neurological system. We must realize that once a certain thought is repeated in the mind, there is left in the chemistry of the individual a recorded imprint that actually blends into and bounds with the genetic structure of that person's human cell. Now that we've laid down some of the basic fundamentals for understanding why Willie Lynch's impact has had such a long-term effect on the black man and the black woman, let us expand our understanding of the intensity of this wisely executed form of indoctrination. Let us remember that we are not focusing in on the physical capture or the physical rape and the physical bondage of the black body, though this does lay the foundation for the Euro slave master's method of biochemical and mental destruction. But our purpose for discussing this subject matter is solely to give you a clear description of the detailed damage on the microscopic level, and to show why we as black men and black women have not been able to put a complete end to the widespread madness of internal conflict and division. Beneath the surface of the subconscious mind of the African brought to the northern part of America is an indoctrination of divisions firmly planted in the core of our subconscious mind that has chemically penetrated the black genetic structure. The depth of the Willie Lynch letter reaches far beyond basic mind control. It's a scientifically detailed psychology that can only be reversed and broken based on one method. The method is effective only if the 400-year-old biochemical method is severed on a cellular level, mentally the mind. So during the physical slave process, why did the slave master use tactics of fear, envy, jealousy, and distrust while he had already maintained physical control of his captured human stock? Why were the previous elements of social control necessary after the black man and woman were apparently held in check and in the grip of chain and shackle? Remember earlier when we mentioned that there was only one method to completely break the curse of Willie Lynch? Well, we must also consider that Mr. Lynch and his comrades understood that there was only one proper method in the making of a slave, and that is the artificial fabrication of consciousness. That could only take place when the previous database in the human mind could be deleted permanently, totally destroyed, and trashed forever. The data being the history of black people's past, material accomplishments combined with black people's personal understanding of their own disciplines. These are classified as the human developmental sciences, which are the basis for a complete knowledge of self. So according to Mr. Lynch and company, there was one and only one antidote that would unto this biochemical perversion. This is the author's comments. The author, being a professional holistic healthcare nutritionist, the author says, I found it necessary to explain the effects of 400 years of terror, destruction, and instigated division of differences from a biochemical basis of understanding. My reason for this approach is simply so that the masses of our people are clear in that we understand the long-term biochemical effects of what we have been brought through as an entire race, or better yet, as a nation of people. Author's comment again. So the fact that a breeding process was considered in conjunction with the shaving off of a mental history proves that the slave master and their wise counsel had a perfect understanding of the biochemical effects on the black slave during bondage. Also, their long-term future results that are still affecting the black man and woman biologically today. Note that a people's geographic and physical history are only taught to the mass population. Eurocentric historians do not make the mistake in teaching the pure mental history in their curriculum and public texts, because to do so would now be classified in a class called social science. Social sciences communicate to students the culture, the norms, which include the religion, spiritual disciplines, morals, family values, and traditions. By getting the black masses into an in-depth study of these sciences along with proper diet, will automatically trigger the proper chemical effect from the brain through the central nervous system, tapping into and reversing the condition of a contaminated cell structure. Since our subject involves the undoing of the social spiritual knot that has bound the black man and woman and at the same time divided the black family, we need to begin with the initiation methods of the conditioning that we as a people received early on in the slave making process. First, the shaving off the mental history of an entire nation of people has very little or nearly nothing to do with the past historical, geographically, or physical accomplishments of an ethnic group. In breaking the curse of Willie Lynch, this point must be made clear, because as black people in this last day, in time now have abundant access to our genetic and physical past. Well, we're still scattered and fragmented when it comes to being effectively organized and the proactively productive for the benefit of the whole. Now, mental history includes and is defined as follows. Every tool used in the form of self-development from religion to metaphysics, meditation, and spiritual traditions. Since we are dealing with the destruction of the biochemistry of the black man and black woman, it's connect the mental history with the physical body so we may holistically cover this topic. So, in reversing the effects of biochemical slavery, we must realize that the black African brought to the northern part of America had lost the historical aspects of our physical sciences, such as an ancient methods of physical fitness, massage, reflexology, breathing techniques, and the original disciplines of the martial arts, which are all exceptional tools of self-discipline, development, growth, and mastery. From both a biological and a chemical level, we must understand that there is a connection with these two sprees within the human mechanism. The connection, or in the case dealing with Willie Lynch's techniques, the disconnection includes the dysfunctionalization of the inner accessible spree of the black human mechanism, which is the physical transmitter of waves, ideas, hormones, and chemicals. That intermediate spree is the physical brain. To make the proper alterations in order to be recustomize the psychological state of the black mind, black educators, psychologists, scientists, and doctors of holistic medicine must first access the proper tools for understanding the task at hand. Second, in breaking the curse of Willie Lynch, the black masses must come to grips with the reality that we have been thinking about ourselves as black people from the basis and format of an adversary, foreign in spirit, foreign in mind, foreign in body, and foreign in nature. So, expounding on the warnings that the slave making letter, which in its contents give credibility to some of the possible interlooping negatives documented surrounding the mental history of the black, once physical slave, which is relative to the recorded history of the black man and black woman brought into slavery upon the shores of North America, is the overwhelming shock to the natural conscious mind brought about by such an energy draining loss of the historical mind's database. Why was the psychological basis for the what was the psychological basis for the Euro-centered psychologists fearing the unraveling of their indoctrination of the black slave? This fear was and is still based upon black people affected by this doctrine gaining back, hey, a substantial original historical base, which is due to the fact that they re-obtained the knowledge of theyself, their initiative, memory, and natural faculties would be reactivated, and all the genetic potential will become fully accessible. This is the year 2010. The walking, the protestings that are taking place with the African American community today, we are not the ones out there doing the riding, the breaking, and the carrying on. In most cases, that wasn't us. It didn't start off. It didn't start off with us. George Floyd was a peaceful protest, and invaders of another persuasion, they wasn't black, came in and broke windows and set fires and started the looting. And we just like little sheep, because that's how we mentally conditioned follow. So just know that. And so what's happening is we're coming into our awakening. That 300-year period is done roll off, and we done did some studying and some digging and some learning. Let's keep reading. So let us review Mr. Willie Lynch's slave psychologist's definition of the word phenomenon. According to their definition, based on our condition Phenomenon means something rare, an occurrence beyond ordinary observation, and inspires awe and wonder. Okay, we're back into the Willie Lynch letters. Based on a previous quote by Senator Henry Berry in 1832, while addressing the Virginia House of Delegates, we have extinguished every avenue by which light could enter into the mind of the black slave. If we could extinguish their capacity to see the light, our work would be complete. They would then be on a level with the beasts of the field. Lord have mercy. And we would be safe. I'm not certain that we would not do it if we could find out the process, and that on the plea of necessity. Well, according, okay, we're almost finished. We're at 30 minutes. Well, according to the slave masters in the past and the present generation of oppression, what has been and is occurring in this country concerning black men and black women whose minds have been activated based on an exposure to literature and scholarship of our great historical heritage can be classified as a phenomenon. Inclusion of the historical database of every culture or the medical healings, arts, sciences, and health traditions. What is more distinct to one's culture than the foods that its constituents depend upon for daily subsistence? Nothing. Food is a substance of life made from the same earth elements comprising human life. These are especially important in the functioning of the mind, unlocking dormant mental, physical, and even spiritual potential. Reflecting upon the hygiene and dietary circumstances on the plantation scene, as well as the present moment for many blacks as a collective. We must be mindful of the condition of the black man and the black woman's health. The present health that nearly 80% of black people consume is comprised of the same foods we were found to eat during the 4 centuries of forced servitude to white plantation slave owners. Very little has changed since those days, except that physical exercise has become a voluntary activity in the daily life of our people. Today, outside of college and professional sports required physical educational classes, most of us, due to the lack of health awareness, begin to take the bodily journey downhill, comprising a list of all the foods that were made a part of the black slave diet upon being introduced to a new life in the plantation. Foods like pinto beans, lima beans, and black-eyed peas that are overloaded with acid and destructive to the digestive system. Other bases are the leafy greens, like mustard greens, turnips, and collard greens, which are the black man and black woman of today consume on a regular basis. The consumption of leafy green foods that are highly concentrated in vitamin K, which is the active ingredient responsible for the production of blood clots. Excessive vitamin K is the silent enemy to the circulatory system due to the fact that it thickens the blood, putting a strain on the veins and arteries. Not to mention that excessive vitamin K in the blood is in a large measure responsible for so many of the strokes and high blood pressure that black people suffer from today. These are some of the foods that we are accustomed to call soul food, which in truth demote the body's balance. On the other side of the table, there are those of us who are willing to spend their extra dollar for a tasty meal, such as fresh water or seafoods, such as shrimp, clams, and crabs, which are scavengers, meaning they consume the carcass and defecation of other animals for their survival. Knowledge of health is just as important in breaking the curse of Willie Lynch as understanding the rudiments of his slave-making process. The following are some basic nutritional tips for enhancing food through supplements. First and most common is the stress factor due to the circumstances of black men and black women's experience and present existence. Black people in America carry more stress and fat than the average person. We also carry more blood sugar imbalances and are dying from diabetes faster and more frequently than the average citizens in this country. Physical ailments of this nature are unnatural and are actually the symptoms reflecting damage penetrating deep to the black mind. To ease some of the basic disease contained in the blood, muscular, and even the nerve cells, you should consume at least 100 milligrams of a vitamin B complex daily. Stay away from all white foods except cauliflower, onions, and garlic. No consumption of white sugars, potatoes, white rice, and white flour. These foods convert to starch, to sugar, creating diabetic conditions. Low vitamin B counts increases the chance for this condition, which stems from the traditional plantation diet. Vitamin Bs are responsible for the assimilation of blood glucose levels, which has a lot to do with fighting stress and the metabolizing of extra fat in the body. The vitamin B complex vitamins are essential to the proper nervous system function. They have a lot to do with the children in their learning process, especially children dealing with attention deficit disorder. Children diagnosed with this condition are as normal as any other child in their learning ability, except their development is thwarted due to a heavy vitamin B deficiency. Adults who consume coffee on a daily basis also suffer from nervous tension and weak bones because caffeine robs the body of vitamin Bs and calcium. Other information on health can be obtained elsewhere, but we have to stress its importance because it is 50% of the equation when habilitating and evaluating the conscious level of the people. That concludes 36 minutes of the read, Breaking the Curse of Willie Lynch. Breaking the Curse of Willie Lynch. I will be coming back with another read at 5 o'clock. We'll have another 30-minute segment, and we will have halfway read the book, and we'll finish the rest of the book on tomorrow. This is very needful for this day and this time and what we're going through. If anybody wants to bless this ministry, if you like what you heard, you want to break a little something off to a sister, feel free. You can Cash App. That's the easiest one. $ Mama Pam 23. Cash App. $ Mama Pam 23. See you back here at 5 o'clock for the final read of Breaking the Curse of Willie Lynch for today. All right. God bless. See you, Instagrammers. Over here, all y'all on this platform. Bye, road to the road. I see you, baby.